to help y'all to understand who this person is that's going to be taking over as the border czar. We've heard a lot about Tom Homan over the last couple of days, but I've actually done review videos on him on this channel before. And so he has gotten into plenty of battles, including those with AOC. Now, we know that AOC is an illegal migrant apologist. That's what I like to call her. She's an illegal migrant apologist, meaning that she's always on the side of wrong when it comes to legally enforcing the laws that's on the books here in the United States of America. And so I want to give you a small sample of how good this guy is because he don't take no from nobody. Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. This is Tom Homan, Trump's new appointed border czar. You know the role that Kamala Harris had, and him going backwards. This is back in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I'm sorry, not 2019. It's got to be like 2021, 22. Let me deep dive into it.
I believe.
So this was, I can't see that. Hold on, let me see something. 2019, all right?
I believe that everyone is operating in good faith. And
now remember, this is around the time that Trump was receiving so much backlash. I want to set the stage for y'all. He was receiving a ton of backlash, and he could not get Congress to buy in or Democrats across the board to help him with extra funding to build a border wall and to give more resources to people that are at the border, patrolling our border, Border Patrol, ICE agents to ultimately help deport and secure what he was already enforcing on the books as far as federal law. And so Trump was preventing people from coming into this country, but he didn't have the support of our legislative branches to continue the fight and to ultimately make sure that people were getting in here legally. And so Tom Homan was testifying as a part of Trump's administration on the whole child separation policy. All right?
Just want us to be very careful with that.
Which
with
Obama was the first one to catch flack for, by the way.
Cortez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier, my colleague from Maryland, Mr. Raskin, asked the panel how many people here believe that child separation is an effective policy in deterrence. And no one on the panel raised their hand. I just wanted to note that for the record, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask a question from Professor Mukherjee. Is the United States violating or violated human rights agreements set by the United Nations in a family separation policy?
Yes. International law is clear that family unity should be prioritized.
So we, as members of the United Nations, signed on into an international human rights agreement saying very clearly that family separation is a violation of international human rights, and then we pursued a policy that violates human rights. You know, Mr. Chair, I was looking, how did we get to this point? How did we get to this point where we take children out of mothers' and fathers' arms? And, you know, it dated back, family separation in the way that we have seen it, where we take children away from their parents without due process, began last year under Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen, but I had to dig further, and our staff dug further. But where did this start within the administration? She implemented it, and we found a memo. It dates back to April 23rd of 2018, where there was an official recommendation to, quote, pursue prosecution of all amenable adults who cross our border, quote, illegally, even though this applied to legal asylum seekers in practice, including those presenting with a family unit between ports of entry in coordination with DOJ. Here is the memo that I would like to submit to the...
So let's summarize this for a second, all right, for the sake of conversation. Because I want to bring this back down to a C students level, and I know a lot of time they throw a lot of word salad in there in order to confuse you, but the reality of it is they're saying that the United Nations condemns separation of family even if you are doing something illegally. And so what the recommendation is if you as a parent intentionally bring children over here who we don't even know if they're your children or not, but we just gonna have to assume because nobody does DNA testing at the border. But if you come over here and you come over here illegally, intentionally, and then you bring your children with you also to make sure that you are not then deported and separated from family. And so you're using them as a bargaining piece in order to break the law to come over here in the United States of America, that we should be governed by the United Nations and not what's best for our country. Let me say that again for the people in the back. If you come over here into this country illegally, intentionally, knowing that you are crossing over into this border illegally, that we should then honor and make sure that we take care of you instead of making sure that you get the hell up out of here because you're not supposed to be here in the first place. And you're using children as a bargaining chip because you know that these legislators over in the United States of America, including these liberal ones, are very, very weak on making sure that people uphold and abide by the law that we have on the books, so that United Nations recommendations supersede what United States of America law is. That's crazy. But let's continue.
Congressional record.
What is the date of that?
It is the memorandum for the Secretary from Homeland Security.
Date.
April 23rd, 2018, subject increasing prosecutions of immigration violations.
Without objection.
And so I looked at this memo, and it seems like this is the source of it. And it seems as though, Mr. Homan, that you are the author. It says here from yourself, Kevin Michalinen, and Francis Cisna. Is this correct? Did you sign the memo?
I'd have to see what you...
Give him.
I'd be happy to provide
He's
it.
so chill.
And we'll provide it over. But I would like to note that here it says the official recommendation. There were 3 different options presented. The third included the option for family separation. This initiative would pursue prosecution of all amenable adults, including those presenting with a family unit. Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy.
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation, of the many that you recommended family separation.
I recommended zero tolerance.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Homan,
family.
with all due respect.
Hey, listen, he said, listen, if I got to arrest somebody for a DUI, I'm going to separate them from the kid. Breaking the law is breaking the law. Under no circumstances do we negotiate with terrorists. We do what's in the best interest of the people of the United States of the Americas. Breaking the law is no excuse. And I know, listen, I see you ladies. I see the ladies in the chat. They said, oh my God, it's the children. They are the ones that I am so emotionally attached to. That's the one thing that breaks my heart. I understand. This is why you have to have men in a position to make a decision on what's best for the United States of America, because those very same people is going to grow up and they're going to hate you and they're going to ruin this country and they're going to hold a grudge against you. And they're not going to do the thing that's in the best interest of the American people. I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Respect legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you enter the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay. Mr. Chair, the memo is submitted to the record for review. Inspector General Costello, one last thing.
You can't
Is there a
break the law.
record, based on reports throughout the year and in our hearing earlier this year, we spoke with Ms. Juarez, a mother who lost her child due to inhumane conditions in the facilities. We learned that there is no...
No. She didn't lose her child due to inhumane conditions with the facilities. She lost her child because she tried to cross over here illegally, and she got detained in a facility that then could not accommodate what you tried to do that you wasn't supposed to do in the first place. And that's how you see, they can finesse the words, but you can't fix stupid. And y'all elected this woman to be one of y'all legislators, and she is the one that is participating as one of the, I forgot what the name of their little group was. Some of them got eliminated out of that group. People
accurate record and no policy being held of people who are pregnant and people who endure miscarriages.
So, translation, people are coming into this country, all right? And I want y'all to understand this and hear me clearly. People are coming into this country and they are coming over here pregnant on purpose. This is a strategy that has long been deployed by the Chinese, right? And Chinese women tend to get away with this a little bit more because Chinese women tend to be a little thinner intentionally because that's their cultural norms. Chinese women tend to be a little bit thinner or a lot thinner than what we're used to over here in American culture. And so what happens is it is a norm. This is a thing that is happening behind the scenes and underground. And that Asian women often at times when they get pregnant, they take a trip over to the United States of America and then they have their children here. And what happens is that child now has dual citizenship in both the United States of America and whatever Asian country, including China, that they are from. And so they are leveraging this system to then say, well, you can't deport me or you can't get rid of me because me and my child was born here or my child was born here. And so by default, I'm supposed to be here in the United States of America. And so people are getting pregnant over in Mexico, Cubans, Venezuelans, Haitians. All of these people are taking the exact same playbook from China, and they are coming over here to the United States of America pregnant to have their children to then give them a better chance to be able to stay in the United States of America because they know that liberals and Democrats don't uphold the law and they then let their emotions govern them instead of making sure that people do what they're supposed to do. That is what is happening. These people are coming over here with children. They're coming over here pregnant in order to get a leg up on these other people that's just crossing over to the border illegally, and then they're doing it under the guise of seeking asylum. And Tom Homan is not having that.
Is there a record of who enters and leaves these facilities?
I'm not familiar with the instance you're talking about, but I do believe the facilities keep custody logs and logs, but I'm not familiar with the incident you're talking about.
And where would we find those records?
I believe all the facilities keep them on site, CBP and I.
So, ladies in the chat, and this is why I like Tom Homan because he's standing on business. Ladies in the chat, understand this, that they are playing on your emotions when they then say, well, we don't necessarily want to separate children and whatnot. That's why it's become such a big deal, because they're basically playing on voters and your emotions to ultimately determine whether or not these people are supposed to be here or they're not supposed to be here in the United States of America.